Your platform is now your name. The purpose of social media is to create that trust and get rid of resistance. So they must do that. And the last thing they need to do, the most important thing that you need to know for your AI is how your own AI is being trained. This is John Lee, and this podcast makes sense.
Makes sense.
Everyone is using AI to generate content. 99% of it is soulless these days. It's predictable and ignored by the algorithm. The problem isn't AI. The problem is a lack of creative direction. Today, I'm joined by John Lee, all the way from London, one of the leading voices in the human-centric AI strategy movement. And he's also the author of the widely anticipated book that you see here on my screen, Money Unlocked. He's here to show us why AI doesn't replace your creativity, it just simply requires it. If you're worried about losing your voice in this new age of automation, this conversation will become your survival guide. What we're going to do is break down the visionary handoff, the exact human to AI transition points that let you scale content 100x while at the same time preserving authenticity at scale. And yes, we're talking AI-enhanced storytelling, creative direction over content creation, and how to become the elite creator in 2026. Let me just take a moment and tell you what I like about John Lee. What I like about John isn't just that he understands AI workflows, it's that he understands identity. There are plenty of people teaching prompts, but very few teaching perspective. John doesn't just talk about automation, he talks about amplification. He doesn't position AI as the creator, he positions it as the production house while you remain the chief visionary. And there's also this calm confidence in the way that he approaches this space. No fear-based marketing, no AI will replace you panic, just a grounded philosophy backed by a refreshing passion that he has and excitement to arm and equip the world with the powerful tools that will unlock money and unleash your creative process. John positions you as a creator and AI as the leveraging assistant. I want to welcome to the Make Sense with Dr. JC podcast, my good friend and author of the upcoming book, Money Unlocked, Mr. John Lee. So welcome to the Make Sense with Dr. JC podcast, my good friend. I like to tell people that John Lee is my good friend, all the way from London. And I see a Captain America shield in the back. I like that. I like that a lot. But the amazing John Lee. John, thanks so much for being here.
Brother, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so excited. So I just want to start off with, giving some context to who you are. I mean, a lot of people are seeing you all over the place, definitely on social media. You're one of the most interesting faces in the Mind Valley family right now, and you're traveling all over the world, and so many people are raving. You were at the Creative Con event, and by far everybody's favorite speaker there, by the way, so much positive feedback. But I guess I'd love to kick this off by just asking you, how did you navigate your way to this moment where so much of your life is dedicated towards AI, implementing it for yourself, but teaching other people as well? I mean, you're one of the most sought after speakers on the topic. How did you navigate yourself from where you were to where you are now?
It's a little bit like, have you heard this phrase of scratching your own itch, JC? It's kind of like I have my own problems, and I'm like, how can I do something? Because if you think about AI, there's only 5 things you need to know. One is, how do you communicate with AI? 2 is, any task that is repetitive can now be replaced. 3 is, how do we vibe code things in a way that we can create a solution for our own, tech stack? I'll talk about that in a little bit moment. 4th is creating this knowledge base. And number 5 is, how do we fine tune and put everything together? And so it was kind of like, I want to do things for myself. I'll give an example. I create a lot of content on social media, but I don't like editing stuff. Yes, I have a team to do that. And yes, they graded it. But how do we do it at scale? So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to build an app that I can film a piece of content, drop it in, and then it can use AI to do AI B-rolls based on my transcription, based on what I say, and then it can just edit everything together. And so my team and I, we built that, and that is scratching my own itch. So, and I kind of think of all these things, that even things like emails, like the simplest thing that we can all replace right now, JC, is by simply never having to read or write emails ever again, right? We can just take our AI, it can read our emails, it can draft the response, and it can send it back for us. Like, why do we have to manually go in? The same with things like Slack and things like, ClickUp and things like that. Like, why go in and manually do it? Why not just bridge the gap with an AI to tell me what are the most important messages I need to reply to right now? Everything else can wait. And I think it's for me, you asked me how did I kind of get into all this. It's a time saving thing.
Right.
Right? For me, time is super important, and I want to maximize my time and have all the stuff that doesn't require my time to be automated.
Yeah, it seems logical, and it seems like something, but also there's a big, gap that a lot of people have, and it's mostly what I see, the fear of the unknown. But I guess one of the things that I'd like to just point out is you didn't always do this. So how did you transition from what you used to do into this? It sounds to me like it was something that you were doing to, you know, create efficiency and automate some of the things in your own life. So take us back to what you used to do before this and how you discovered AI and what made you decide that you wanted to help other people with it.
Well, before, I mean, I started as a computer animator. I worked, on film, special effects, games, and I realized that technology is powerful. Like, it used to take me weeks and weeks and weeks just to animate like a 5-second shot. Now, you see, I can come up with anything I want in my mind and I can create it, and it will be done within an hour, right? And I'm talking about full concept inception to finished thing. So we're now moving at the speed, and there's a saying that says, speed loves money, right?
Mhm.
And so AI allows us to do that. So before I was kind of doing things like manually. And before I'd have to have, one of my team members do this and do that and do that. And now I can have an AI that works with my team that can produce the output 10 times faster. So how did I get into all of this? First of all, I invested in a company many, many years ago. This is like, pre 2020, right?
Mm.
When I knew that, back then there was this copywriting called Jarvis. And I was like, wow, this can write copy better than me. And I've trained my whole life to do this. And I really saw something interesting, that we're now able to take something that is something that we think about in the future, and we can pull it into today and anything that we want to get done. So now my default is, if I want to do something, can AI do it? In fact, anything right now in the next 1,000 days, anything that we're doing behind a laptop or a screen will be replaced by AI, right?
Mhm.
And so now we're moving into the robotics realm. Hence, you look at here what Tesla's doing right now. They're not doing any Model X's or anything anymore. They're building robots, right? Why is that? Because when you look at where the world is changing, it's like, here's point A, here's point B. How do we get there the fastest? And when we understand, actually, we no longer have to implement something. We have to learn something, get good at it, do it. Now, there's only 3 things we have to do. When we are future-proofing ourselves to the AI world, number 1, we have to become the orchestrator, right?
Mhm.
We look at what AI tools are available and how do we orchestrate it to get a result. Number 2, we have to focus on making sure that we verify things. So when I asked my AI today to send an email, it sent me an email back with the draft, with all the things in there. Read this. Does it pass our guardrails? The answer is yes. Send. So we have to verify it. But the third part is, we also have to humanize it. So what's happening? The bigger AI gets, the more humans become more valuable,
Mhm.
right? This is our power. And in a world that we are so connected, we are so disconnected.
Yeah.
And so what's important? Community. connection, collaboration. These are all things that are going to be big in today's world. So when I look at, you ask me what I used to do, that's all the things I used to do manually. But it's
Right.
almost like someone has given me a mini and give me a rocket fuel jetpack booster on the back. And that's, I'm not going 100 miles an hour. I'm going 1,000,000 miles an hour now, JC.
Yeah. And one of the things, and in the introduction, I said this, there's so many different things that I love about you. And one of those is that you're just unusually passionate about it. When you meet John, you don't get a sense that he's trying to talk you into liking what he likes. He's just this person that is like paying forward what he's so excited about. It sounds to me like what you're starting to talk about is, I think you've called it the creative AI bridge. It's like the bridge between the creator, and a lot of people don't understand that concept, that in this AI world, AI requires a creator, and that's when things really, really get good. I think that I've heard you refer to 2026 as the creative direction over content creation phase. So talk a little bit about what that means, because I think that kind of relinquishes a lot of the fears when we refer to the human as the creative director rather than just like content creator, because that's when AI becomes really, really useful. So I want to move into that, because I know you're real passionate about that, because you could give anybody any AI platform, and if they don't know how to use it as the creator, it's becomes useless, correct?
Well, that's the role of the orchestrator, JC.
Yeah.
Because the orchestrator is somebody who's able to go, okay, I need that person, that person, that person to create the melody, right? So when I'm looking at the role of the creator, think about it. We've gone from the industrial age to the information age, and now we're now the creator. And I say creator because AI is just a canvas and a paintbrush. That's all I see. But it's an incredible one, and it's a magical one, and it's one that you can just create something from nothing. But now it's not about creative. People talk about this whole, is AI taking away the way we think? And our mutual friend, our very good friend Jim, he talks about this human intelligence, and we're not doing critical thinking anymore because that's all been taken by AI. For example, if I want to code something, it's going to code it, and then it's going to hit a block, and then it's going to debug itself. And once it debugs itself, it's then able to then fix itself. So critical thinking is no longer needed. So if critical thinking is no longer there, where are we evolving to? Right. So the creator, I call creative intelligence. And creative intelligence is to be able to see 1,000 different timelines. I guess if you look at, I don't know if you've seen the film Avengers Endgame, right? Do you remember the scene where Doctor Strange, he goes, and he's like, you've seen all these 1,000 different possibilities happening at any one time. That's what creative intelligence is. We can look at all the timelines, which are all the AI, and we can look at what is the best possible way to win. And we find that route. And our brain has to be quick enough to make the connections and the dots. Let me give an example. So when you create a YouTube video, right, normally you would need B-roll, right? So the mind goes, okay, well, how do we do that? Well, we'd have to transcribe everything we say. We'd have to go to AI to produce those parts, or we'd have to have a graphics designer who can use something like After Effects to be able to create the illustrations. Well, what if I could take my transcript and put it into something like Higgsfield to design all of the illustrations? And what if I could take my content and put it into Notebook LM to then create the slides? And then what if I could simultaneously create a cinematic video of that? And what if I could overlay all 4 layers at the same time and give it a prompt to say, every 5 seconds, chop it and insert a separate image? So now you've got 4 tools that work individually, but chain together, which produce a result. Now your videos can be created and it can be edited, and you don't need to have a graphic designer, an illustrator, an editor. It just all does it automatically. Isn't that insane? So that's creative intelligence, right? Another creative intelligence could be, all right, let's say, look, I have a new book coming out, right? So I can say, take a copy of this book, take all these images, create 50 different variations of me holding the book. I want you to then connect to Facebook ads platform. I want you to take the best performing post and I want you to run $1,000 ad behind the best performing post and keep the cost per lead below $5 per lead. And it'll be able to do that. This is creative intelligence.
You know, there's something really fascinating happening right now that I wonder if even you're aware of. And this is what I think I want everybody to grasp. So here we are talking to one of the world's foremost authorities in AI. And if you ever hang out with John, like it's just fun because like everything he's like, oh, watch, I'll show you this and I'll show you that. And all of a sudden he's up on a roof having a fist fight with Tom Cruise. And he just loves showing you how to do things. But you just spent like 6 minutes in the creative process. And this is what I really want people to take home, because this is what I get whenever I speak to you. We didn't use AI in the past 6 minutes. What you just heard was John in the creative process saying, what if we did this? Like we could do this. That's all part of that creative direction of the human. So I just want to make sure that everybody sees what I just saw, because, you know, we talk a little bit about the visionary handoff. You know, I've heard that before. It's like, where does the human stop typing and let AI take over? And I want to move into that area. But AI is not very useful without an idea, without a creative process, without somebody saying, well, I wonder if I could do this. What if I could do this? Am I right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like giving someone a paintbrush and saying, paint me a picture, right? You still need to have a direction. You know, here's the funny thing. When people talk about AI employees, they just think, oh, yeah, you can just do everything for me. No. Like, when you hire someone, you still have to train that person, right? When I hire a salesperson, I have to train them on the knowledge, the products, the services, the features, the benefits, the objections, the nuances. The same thing has to be done with your AI. So, it is like people think just AI is just going to automate everything. No, it won't just automate everything. It's going to get to a point where it's going to know what we want. So remember, there are actually 5 levels of AI as well, JC. Mm-hmm. The bottom layer is level 1 is, and this is what most people know. You've got the LLM layer, you know, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all that stuff. Second layer or level is your agents. These agents perform a task and do something. The level above that is your agentic layer. That's when you've got multiple agents that are working concurrently together to produce a result. This is where we are right now. Then we've got AGI. So AGI is general intelligence, which basically means it's going to know more than everyone in the world combined, and it's going to know how you think. It's going to know what you're going to do before you do it. How many times when you think of the cognitive process, you're like, oh, you know what? I don't really want to have that junk food. And you start thinking about it. You know, when people are trying to lose weight, they think about what they shouldn't eat. And that's why they struggle to lose weight, because now that inception's in your mind. So AGI is going to be able to do that. It's going to know what you want before you know you even want it. Mm-hmm. Right. And then the top layer is, of course, super intelligence. And this is kind of when it's game over, right? So the creative intelligence is trained on how we want it to be trained. If you think of all the large language models, most of the data has been taken from things like Reddit and, you know, Wikipedia. It's actually not the most credible places, but it's where most humans hang out and it's where they have most conversations. So it is ultimately trained by us, by humans. So AI, in a way, is not AI. It's actually us in a more evolved form.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking I've had the opportunity to hang out with some of the team members on John's, you know, in his company and stuff, and, you know, give a shout out to Perlene. But what's interesting is I'm just thinking, because I've got employees, and I've had to go through the hiring and firing process, and an employee would have to at least be an AGI level employee to be considered a good employee. So it's interesting because you mentioned human intelligence before. There's not that much difference in it, but I don't think that you could replace, someone like that. But the idea of, I don't know, spending $40 a month and having an AGI platform, or even if it was $1,000 a month that, knew what you wanted, without you having to explain it, it's pretty amazing. But I just want to make sure that we don't, go too fast in our thought process to super intelligence and game over. Um, that's not happening tomorrow. But the idea of having AI give you a better experience than you might have with a mediocre employee is just really exciting. But I also see in that the reason why you value your team, it's because they know how you think. They would say something like, I mean, I've interacted with them, and you hear them say, "Oh, John doesn't like that. John likes this. John likes that." So, they're kind of an AGI level employee. Am I right? It's kind of an interesting parallel.
I think that, yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
Like the AI will get to a level where it will just do everything for us. Can you imagine? So I had this vision. So I'm advising this robotics company right now, and I see the world of how things are happening. And here's my vision. You're gonna have a robot, something like this. Like imagine this is a piece of metal, and it's gonna sit on your desktop. Like, do you remember in Apple released this kind of like, it looked like a cone, and it's like a Siri type of cone, and then you talk to it. And so the way I see it now is, and this is the vision, like we're gonna wake up every morning and we're going to talk to this thing, and it's going to give us updates. It's going to be, hey, John, at this time you have this, and you have a meeting with this person, and it's going to do everything for us. Oh, your insurance for your car is for renewal. Do you want me to renew it for you? Our cheapest quote is this. Or if you don't like that, I can go back and haggle for you. And it will do phone calls, right? So if you look at even the sales process of how everything's changing now. So in the old days, it's see an ad, click, opt in, emails go out, and you get a call, right? Now it's ad, qualifier, AI phone call, and if you're qualified, then you have a human in the loop to go into a real call. It's like, I remember just calling up companies now, because I'm in this. I know I'm speaking to an AI. Most people would not. It's kind of like when people, and it fascinates me. All these AI avatars, UGCs, they look real. I know they're fake, but my mom's like, is that not? No, it's not real, mom. Right? So people are speaking to AIs and they don't even know they're speaking to an AI. It's crazy.
Like everybody's been always talking about, I have had a lot of the best minds in the simulation hypothesis arena. And we're always talking about that simulation point where we won't know the difference, the Turing test and all that stuff. But I'm like, it's kind of happening like all over the place already, unless you have that knowledge. I can tell you that my children, like I'm 54 and I can see something on Instagram and be like, oh my God, did you see this? And my 15-year-old daughter will be like, Dad, that's AI. So, this new generation is so comfortable in that arena. So I want to talk a little bit about scale, because one of the, I guess, potential fears in what we're talking about here is just like this idea of maintaining authenticity at scale. So everybody wants to scale. This is one of the reasons people love John so much is, he teaches them not how to just have fun with this stuff, but to scale and make money. That's what his book is going to be about. But everyone wants to scale and everyone wants to leverage themselves. But how do we maintain authenticity at scale without becoming what I would call algorithm food?
Okay, good, really good question. It all comes down to the fifth point we talked about, right? Which is fine-tuning the knowledge base. So here's the secret. The most important thing that you need to know for your AI is how your own AI is being trained. That means knowledge base, preferences, persona. All these things is a makeup of who you are. So, for example, I have my own AI, and people say, "Well, John, why would I really want to use your AI when I can just go to ChatGPT?" Right? So, when you look at the hierarchy in a business, right? For example, org charts are about to change forever, right? You normally have the CEO, and then you have all your people beneath. But just like you would hire a marketing person, like if you take your brain is split, like my brain is split into different areas. So I've got one AI that just talks about marketing. I've got one AI that just talks about sales, speaking, investing, right? Business growth. So they're all different brains and are only trained on one thing and be competent at one thing. But each brain, if you will, or each employee can then talk to each other and get solutions. So you have to train it to be the authentic you. I'll give an example, the book, right? So Money Unlocked, this book's been in my head for the last 20 years. Why have I not written it? Because I'm dyslexic. I'm not good at writing. I'm spelling mistakes, grammatical errors. I wasn't good at that. But it took an AI to come out to become my writer. So I wrote every single word of my book with my voice. And it was able to write things word for word, put a full stop in, put grammatical errors, paragraph, space. It was able to format it in a way that was still true to me. And when I prompted it on how I wanted things to be, I was using it to get ideas. Okay, well, I've got this concept. Like, what do you think? So, but that AI is trained on my brain. You know, the funny thing is, this is crazy. I have to train my AI, and I need to go back to my AI to coach me. But it's been trained by me. So it's almost like it's got a very good memory. And now it's kind of like the way it is, it's become your personal phone book. You know how many numbers you used to remember when you were like 10 years ago? And now how many numbers you remember? It's the same with your memories. Like our brain, it's almost like, even though it can hold so much, it only needs to hold what's relevant at the time that you need it. Right? And the AI will be able to feed that back to you when you need it. So it's almost like our brain and the way we want to use AI, because our time is so scarce, is what do we need at the time that we need it that's most urgent. And that then I can go to my AI and go, you know that thing I was talking about before, what was that? It was this. So it's becoming like the phone book in a phone.
Right now, there's the young generation that are saying, what's a phone book? They're saying, what's a phone book? I'll tell you about the yellow pages some other time, my son. So what I'm hearing, there's just a mix of the human participation and the AI. And I've heard you, and I think this is an empowering thing for people to recognize, but also it's going to remind people that they're kind of like unloading and delegating too much of the creative process to AI. But in that hierarchy, you're going over the business structure, you're still the CEO. The AI is not the CEO. You're the one with the creative vision, and you're utilizing these as tools. You also reminded me that if I'm coaching, I've been coaching coaches and teaching them a lot of communication skills. And it's interesting because like a year into it, I'll like audit a phone call and I'll hear them talking to someone and I'll say, oh, they're talking like me. But there's also that place with AI where we say, hey, make sure you make it your own. Don't just copy what I wrote and make it your own, put your own flair into it. So you've talked about the human touch as the new gold. So, I love that idea, that we want to just question, where does the human like remain untouched, their involvement in this whole process?
Well, when we look at human, like think about it, JC, what do humans do on a regular basis? Let's first of all answer that question. What do we do on a regular basis? What would you say?
Complain?
Yeah. A lot of people
Are you
complain.
talking about in the context of work?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's talk about work. Like, so what do most of us do every day when it comes to work?
We do the same thing. We follow, the prompts that have been giving, unless we're the owner of our company and we're an entrepreneur, but even an entrepreneur pretty much does the same things every day. And
right. So you just said it there. Prompts that are given to us, doing the same things every day. So then where is the human involved if that prompt has been given to you? So the prompt is, you go and design this thing for me. What is the difference if I tell you to do that, or if I tell my trained AI graphics designer to do that?
well,
Right?
the difference would probably be that I would have a problem with it and it wouldn't.
Right. And speed and accuracy and time,
Yeah.
iterations. So then when you ask me, so where's the human involved in this then? Well, the humans, again, as I mentioned, in the past, we have to learn something and then we have to do something to get the result. So that's what we call it execution, implementation. So here's the crazy thing. The implementation layer now has been taken out. It's gone. Doesn't exist anymore. Right? Because AI can do it for you. If I want an app, it's going to build me an app. If I want to send an email, it will send an email for me. If I want to clone my voice and put me into an avatar, it will do it for me. So that implementation layer is gone. So what's been replaced is architecture. That's what I call AI architecture. So it's how you architect, and this is where the orchestra comes in. Think about an architect. What does an architect do? So an architect will look at a plan. It's going to build it, and it's going to say, okay, it's going to build out everything. It's going to do all this, and then you build it on top. So the human now becomes the AI architect, right? So we will not be doing things. We'll be architecting things, right? And the AI will be our workers to implement. If you think of every business, right? How does a business structure work, right? We as humans, when I ask you, like, what is it that we do? Really, the CEO's job is to do two things: think, right? And make sure stuff gets done, right? Doesn't mean they have to do it. So they got to have the vision. That's their only job. Their job should not be the operator, although when people start off, they become the operator, right? So when you're the operator, you're the person doing everything, right? You're supposed to be the CEO, the chief executive officer, right? But you end up becoming the chief everything officer. You end up doing the marketing, the sales, the customer service, the books, the finances, the fundraising, the fulfillment. You do everything. So we must evolve from the operator to then the manager. So what does the manager do? So now I have, as you see, employees that work with me, and this person does this, and this person does this, and I manage this person, this person. But then when we go a level up from there, we become the architect of the company, right? Because now you're no longer in the weeds, right? You're no longer the person who's making the decisions. And to be truly free from a business is to have the people in your team and give them full autonomy to make decisions, because ultimately the CEO always becomes a bottleneck, right? But if you give the autonomy to the people or the AIs that can make the decisions, and you just put guardrails around it. I'll give an example. Let's say we want to book a venue, right? We give it a budget, right? So go out and find all the quotes. So my prompt would be, I want to, and this is creepy when you see this happening. Like literally, I have two screens. I've got one screen here. I've got one screen here. When I tell it to do this, my screen just opens up and you see the mouse moving around and going to different websites, typing stuff out, and it's just doing everything autonomously, agentically. So the prompt would be something like, let's say I'm running an event. It would be, I want you to search all of the venues in New York. I want you to find the event managers of all the hotels, and I want you to find a room that can hold a capacity of 1,000 people. Then what I want you to do is I want you to analyze all of the people that work for these companies, which positions they're in. And I want you to search for them on the internet and find something that's in common with that person, because when you write the message to them, find something that they have in common, that I have in common, and that will build relationships. Then I want you to do is ask for the quotes coming back. Now, all the emails that come back, I want you to look at the attachments and I want to analyze, does it have the room? Does it have the AV? Does it have catering? Does it have a DDR package? All that stuff. And then anything that is under, let's say, $100,000 a day for this event, I want you to reply to, because that's the budget. So you can set these guardrails around all these things, and that will replace an event manager, an event director.
It's so fascinating to just think about all these different angles. And also I'm just realizing now, and this is an empowering thing. Very often we'll see AI, a simple first level chat GPT, even, or Claude or something like that, create something that nobody knew it could create. And it's not that it didn't have the capability the day before. It's just somebody like John Lee said, try this prompt and watch. So what's really interesting about AI, and it's in the hands of the creator, is that we don't even know what it can do yet. It's so unbelievable. So I want to talk a little bit about the advantage that people have. I would say the elite creator blueprint, we'll call it, meaning the people that are out there that are positioned. You hear John Lee very often talk about the fact that he's like, let me show you how to make $100,000 really quick. So I like to call that an unfair advantage. I would say that anybody that's working side by side with John Lee as a client of his would have what I call the unfair advantage. So that would be a good thing to have the unfair advantage. But in your opinion, what separates what I'm calling the elite creator and user of AI from the average user right now in this day and age?
Well, number one is testing and measuring, always split testing, what works, what doesn't work. Number two is always trying to find and improve upon the process. So, you know what a lot of people do, JC? They figure out something that works and they stay there, and they never evolve. And unfortunately, in the world of AI, it evolves. It's funny because I used to have this 12-week AI certification, and by the time I'd get to week 8, week 1 is now redundant. I've never seen an industry change so fast. And this is why people should really not be creating their own AI tools. Because what happens is you could spend, for example, there was one company, they created this whole thing. They spent millions of dollars creating an AI that could reply to people's emails. And then it just takes, Claude to just create one connection to Gmail, and that business is gone. So one feature update is an entire software AI company that's just obliterated overnight. So what you need to do is you need to become your own disruptor. Mm-hmm. So when you create something, you have to ask yourself, how would I disrupt myself? What things can come in? That's why I've always been I've always said to my team, let's not create AI stuff. Let's learn how to use and deploy the AI stuff that comes out, because there's always something new that comes out. It's like to say, when people are digging for gold, what do? You don't dig for gold, you sell the spades, right? And when people buy the spades, what do? You teach them how to dig, right? And when everyone's learned how to dig, what do? You teach them where to dig. You see how that works? So this is constant process of always being forward thinking. And this is a phrase that I always say to people. Like, people say, John, how do you know you're going to have an idea that's going to make a lot of money? Very simple. I ask them this question: what do you know to be true that other people don't know yet? What do you know to be true that other people don't know yet? And when you can answer that question, you're going to impact many people. And by doing that, indirectly, you'll be wealthy.
So fascinating. What percentage of humans, respectively, are using AI the right way? Right,
0.04% of the population out of 8 billion people.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Even if somebody's just contemplating what that even means, say, okay, because you're seeing all these advertisements saying, like, do this in 30 days and learn these platforms, and everybody's just blindly just assuming that's the right way to do it. But we're talking to the expert here. I want to talk a little bit about what I guess we would call the workflow breakdown. and getting in that 0.4%. So I want to hear what the 0.4% does, right?
Sorry, 0.04%.
Well, even crazier, 0.04%. And I'm probably not there myself, and I feel pretty comfortable with it. But if I'm a personal brand or entrepreneur, because we have a lot of those people listening, what does your idea of an AI workflow look like? And what I'm talking about is from idea, human, to production to distribution. What does that look like in the 0.04%?
So first of all, we need to have a system set up. So for example, I have an AI and it's called Nova, right? So I can talk to Nova and it can do things for me. So I might say something like, "Hey Nova, I'm just on JC's podcast right now, and we have people listening. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Just tell people who you are and what you do for me."
Hey everyone, I'm Nova. Think of me as John Lee's digital twin. I'm here to help you level up, whether that's in business, mindset, or branding. I've got the energy, the insights, and yeah, maybe a cheeky comment or two, just like John. So if you're serious about growth, trust me, you're in the right place. Let's make it happen.
So now what I do, I'm going to say, "Okay, Nova, what I want you to do is I want you to go to my Instagram and I want you to analyze all of my posts and tell me which are the highest performing and which one has the most views and leads generated. Then what I want you to do is analyze my competitors' channels and cross-reference the content I'm creating versus the content they're creating. And I want you to tell me what are the spots or the holes that I'm not seeing right now. Then what I want you to do is take all the best performing posts from theirs and mine content and then create all the different hooks and give me 3 different variations of the hooks and then 5 bullet points of that. Once you've done that, I want you to post it on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And then what I want you to do is analyze all the highest performing posts over the next 7 days. Then what I want you to do is run a ad budget of $1,000 per day on the highest performing ad and keep the cost per lead down by $5 per lead. Then what I want you to do is where you want to drive them is to a book a call funnel. So what I like to do is create a calendar, make Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays free from 9 till 5. Okay. So once they book it in, then I want you to create a voice agent and I want you to use the qualification agent and to ask all the questions that I pre-program you to make sure that they're serious, they have the affordability, they're looking to move fast, and they really have an incredible product or service. Once that's been done, then I want you to forward that person to an AI agent, to a human in the loop from the AI agent to be able to transact that sale. Done. So that's one workflow, right?
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, the last thing I remember you saying, like, I'm a waiter trying to memorize the order, was what I want you to do. And I'm just thinking that's not a problem with AI. There's AI looks at adversity differently. AI just looks at adversity as a challenge. When you look at a successful human and a successful entrepreneur like yourself, you'll see characteristics about how you handle adversity and how you look at things. And you'll see a direct, conflict in somebody that is not considered to be successful in life. They're stuck in life. It's going to be how they manage things. But AI manages things not only, effortlessly, it's almost like a game, but it also gets better and better. And I think what we just saw is that the AI is not saying, "Hey, John, just take a second. Let me just grasp what you've said so far and then give me more." AI is hungry and it's just saying, "Sure." So once again, I think you either look at what John just did. I love when he gives these examples. He does it from stage too. And you could tell that that voice of that woman knows John. She said cheeky, and but you could just tell that he's the creator in that. What the most amazing thing to me, John, is not what the AI is going to go do, because that's technology, and that's beyond what I would be able to do. What's amazing is that the workflow is in your head and you've trained it. You even said and asked the questions that I've pre-programmed you with. Once again, those ideas came from your head. So I just love that, man. It's just so much fun to watch that. But for me, the most impressive part is you.
So you had an incredible point there, JC, is that really we have to think of AI as just a tool, right? You know what's really exciting about this is what we as humans use this tool for. Like when someone came out with, an electric screwdriver, they can build a skyscraper with it, right? They just have that bigger version of it, smaller version. When someone came out with a hammer, right, they can build an entire building with this,
Right.
right? And when someone came up with a hammer and the chisel, they're able to build temples and cathedrals with it, you see? So now that we've been given AI, what can we build with it? That's the question. That's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah. And we could come up with an idea and an answer to that question, but tomorrow, if we desire, we can come up with a new one and a new one and a new one. I don't think that we've even scratched the surface. So
Actually, let me just, because you and I all have conversations on simulation, right? Speaking of simulation, all these AI agents, someone actually built a virtual office for these virtual agents, right? These AI agents. And you can see them all, like it's if you've seen the film Sims, also the game Sims, it's kind of like that. You look at it as a game and they're all walking around and then they start getting together in a table, start talking to each other. It's fascinating to see. And a part of me is like, is that the first version of our simulation?
Yeah. Well, just for fun, I recently had the amazing Rizwan Virk, who wrote the simulation hypothesis, and he's got a new version of that simulation multiverse. So this is the guy that knows some of the most about that topic, and he taught me something that's out now, because I was wondering if this was going to happen. He's like, oh, that's already happening. There's a concept called the smart NPC, and what that's saying is that in a video game world, an NPC, which stands for non-player character, which is like one of those people that are like, hey, would you like an elixir or would you like a drink? And you're the real player of the game. And you're like, you don't even have to talk to them. They're just like props. So that's what a non-player character is. But what he's saying now is that there's an evolution now where those NPCs are fully tapped into AI. And part of the simulation point will be that when you're the character, the avatar in a video game, because we're talking about in real world right now, interacting with AI, but pretty soon, and it's probably sooner than later, if not maybe already happening, our kids or whoever gaming is not for kids. We're not going to know if we're talking to a real player from another country or an NPC that's just tapped into AI. And then if you go even further than that, if you really want to play, you said the word simulation, so you're going to get this. If you want to go even further than that, then you realize that we could be, simulation, trying to create a simulation. So the really funny thing about this whole AI thing is that we think that we have developed AI when somebody might have developed us. So that's a whole other conversation we don't have to get to. But either way, it's a reason to have some fun in this world rather than take things too serious. I want to talk about the book. So we're all patiently waiting for this book, and I believe it's, am I right, April 27th or 28th?
28th, yes.
Look at that. That's a good friend that knows when the book is coming out. So everybody's buying up the book, and can we get a little bit of an insight about, because money is obviously an important currency that a lot of people are focused on, especially now. And you're going to talk to people about how to leverage this stuff, make it, but also keep it. Tell us a little bit about Money Unlocked.
So I've been through business for the last 20 years. And what I find is when I talk about money unlocked, like people say to me all the time, oh, I'm struggling with money. I don't have any money. Like, no, like money is really easy to create and make. All you have to do is solve a problem. So the first thing is, and the book talks about, 3 concepts of how do you make it? How do you keep it? And then how do you multiply it? And most people are only ever taught the first one, right? So the reason why people don't know how to make money is partly because our education system teaches us how to get a job. And there's nothing wrong with a job. The only issue with that is that you're trading time for money. So that means I can only make more when I give more. And there's only 24 hours in a day. So we have to convert the active income into passive income. So passive income, we create a vehicle. That vehicle then makes money for us. So I don't have to be the one trading time for money. So when we talk about passive forms of income, your income cannot come from time delivered for dollar, right? And then there's the third part of that, which is how do we multiply the money? So now we have the third part of the income is called leveraged income. So how do we leverage that? And again, we can put it into vehicles. I mean, I'm not even talking about tokenomics yet. One thing that will happen in the future is all companies, in my opinion, will go through this tokenomic stage. And tokenomics means that it's kind of like a point system, right? You know how we have like flight, airlines where we have, British Airways. I have points, right? Every time we buy something, we'll be getting points. These are tokens. Funnily enough, guess what AI runs off? Tokens. So this is why we have to look at, first of all, where are the opportunities? You see, it's easy to make money when you know how to, first of all, see the problem and solve the problem.
Right.
And the speed at solving it. So I wrote this book based on 20 years of my experience of people say, John, how does your mind move so fast? How can you see this, and all these opportunities? Well, my brain's been trained to do it. And in the book, I break down a blueprint on, like, when people read this book, they should not have any issues with knowing how to make more money, right? That's my first thing. The second thing is, once you've made the money, how do you get it to make more of it without you trading time for it?
Right.
And then I talk about these three different paths. First path is there's a difference between being free and being rich. So our first goal is to be free. Once we're free, then we can be rich. And once we're rich, we can then become wealthy. And here's the whole spin on this. Being wealthy is not having lots and lots of money. Being wealthy is having lots and lots of choices. It's different. Very different. That's what the book talks about, JC. Plus a lot more.
And it's such a fascinating topic because most people are programmed to be unconscious to this. But I always say that some people have time, but no money. And then a lot of people have money. We know a lot of people that are very wealthy, but they have no time. I was very successful as a chiropractor, and I was making 7-figure income, but my whole life fell apart because I had no time. But it's only a select few, and that's what we're talking about. It seems like this book is going to teach people how to have both. And what this brings up for me is there's this culture. It's almost like, especially guys, I think, but now more and more, some very, very powerful women probably coming to take the world over, which I'd be fine with. But it seems like this rite of passage to trade time for money. It's funny because people look at the idea of, cutting corners to create passive income, and they're like, well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's like, okay, but I understand what you're saying, and you're saying that only because you're currently trading time for money. But if you did have money and time, what is it that you would spend your time doing? What is it that you truly wish you would want to do? And they would say family. I would take better care of my health. I would travel the world. I would live life. And that's when all of a sudden people start to go, oh, so, for those of you that are smart enough to go out and get this book, and you can pre-order it, that's what it's going to talk about. It's not only going to talk about strategies, but from what I can see, it's going to also be a mind shift for people, like almost like giving them permission to entertain passive income. Most business models, John, are not made for passive income.
No, and you brought up a really important point there. It's a mindset shift. It's a paradigm shift. For example, do you know the real secret of wealth is when you make more money, you keep your lifestyle the same.
Right.
Well, but what most people do, they make money, spend money, make money, spend money, make money, spend money. I know people who are multimillionaires and they're still broke. It is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy the amount of money they earn, and they tell me they've got no money. I'm like, what are you spending your money on? So there's a shift in once we've acquired the money, how do we hold it? How do we save it, quote unquote? I'm not talking about the traditional way you save things, right? But it has to be a way, in a strategic way. For example, if you have a business right now and your business always suffers from cash flow, it's because you're not paying yourself first. You're not taxing yourself first. The old model of, my sales minus my expenses equals my profit. No, it should be your sales minus your profit equals your operation costs. That's the formula. And people go, oh my God, I've thought of it like that. Because, and I have this formula, I call it the 30, 30, 30, 10. People say, what do you do with your money? Well, your own personal money and your business wealth and your personal wealth needs to be separate, right? Your business can be broke, but you can be rich. And the opposite is true as well. Your business can, people who have a lot of equity in their houses, they're equity rich, cash poor.
Yeah.
Right? They're millionaires on paper, but they don't have the millions in cash. So there's these concepts that I talk about on actually how do we allocate our money. For example, in business, you should be allocating some for, your OPEX, your operational costs, right? You need to, your personal costs are how much you pay, right? Your taxes, what people do, they get all this money, they're so happy, they see all this money in the bank and they start spending it, right? That's what we call Parkinson's law, right? If you look at Parkinson's law, it's basically, if you have a lot of time, the time will expand to fill and you become busy unless it's capped. And it's like, do you know when you have toothpaste and you're like, oh, I want to brush my teeth? And it's like, you got a full to a tube and you just laying it on. And then you get to the part where you have to roll it up and there's that little bit left and you put in a little bit. And somehow that little bit lasts you for like a month. It's Parkinson's law. Time will expand to fill based on how much free time you have. Same with money. If you got too much money there, it will be spent. That's why you got to pay. So concepts like this, I talk about in the book, like how do you not just make it, how do you keep it, and how do you multiply it?
What a perfect name for a book, because a lot of people think that like when you say money unlocked, it's like you're going to give a key to like open up a vault, but it's really the cranial vault. It's really unlocking, because there's plenty of money out there. It's never been easier to make money, especially when you have friends like you teaching people what you do.
Well, it's also positioning. For example, like if you live in the US versus living in Malaysia,
right,
or Bali, right? Well, how much? So one of the things I talk about in the book is something called the freedom number. Everyone needs to have a freedom number. What that means is how much money do you need to make every month to never have to work again? That's your freedom number. And I talk about how I got there and some of the things I did to produce it. But actually, just by moving location, you can halve the amount of time it takes to get to your freedom number. By getting rid of things that's sucking money from your pocket. I always think about, like there's this saying that says, small holes sink big ships.
Right.
Same with your money.
Yeah, isn't that
right? All these little things, a little pokey, and you having to create more. But if you just plug the holes, then you have to work as hard. When you have to work as hard, and I'm by no means saying we shouldn't work hard. I mean, one of the concepts I talk about, we shouldn't work hard. We should work smart hard.
Yeah.
Right. Not just smart, but we need to work smart hard. And smart hard is a combination of AI and all the things that we've been talking about.
Well, I'll tell you what I like to work hard on is being a good husband, a father, and human. And I can tell you that most people are unaware that they spend 85% of their entire life working. And that's a mindset problem. That's that rite of passage. But, I would love to never work again in that context so that I could put the work into the things that matter most to me. So just quickly, I want to hit on ethics, because there's a lot of people out there that, and I know this is one of the things that I love about you is that, he's a great person. I've had, broken bread with John, and I know a lot about his personal life, and he's a great human, he's a great father, he's a great, husband. So his heart is in the right place. But a lot of people can be using AI unethically. So as AI grows, more autonomous, what is the responsibility in your terms of the creator when it comes to shaping how it's used?
First of all, and this is hard because what is what's something considered original, right? If you look, I mean, look at all the Tony Robbins quotes. Everyone uses a lot of the Tony Robbins quotes, right? But where do those quotes come from? A lot of them come from, previous teachers. And, JC, you mentioned yourself, you coach a lot of coaches. They go out, you hear some of the coaches, they start sounding like you. So inevitably, that's always going to happen because it's a part of the process. Now, what differentiates you to be different? Well, the difference is you. The difference, your uniqueness is you and your stories and your experiences. So what I like to do, I like to take a concept and then I like to make that concept my own, right? And that's not copying, that's emulating. So we emulate something. So you and I could have the same topic on something, but we'll have a different perspective. We'll have a different story. We'll have a different experience around that. And once we've done that, that becomes uniquely you.
I love it. She will not hear this episode until her birthday has passed. So one of the presents that I got my wife for her birthday is I had, using AI, I made this amazing, using all of our personal story and everything. I made a comic book.
Wow.
Of her whole story, and it took me 20 minutes. When she gets it, she's going to be like, "Oh my God." And, I did it on my phone, and it's just amazing. And it's gorgeous. So coming to the end, I want to just talk a little bit about the landscape. This is a really, really powerful question. And I want you to just really give me your most up-to-date answer with it. What is it that's going to separate brands or entrepreneurs that survive from those that disappear in the next 3 years?
So I kind of talked about this a little bit before, like speed loves money and money loves speed, right? So in a business context, as a creator, how do you stand out from other people? So it's interesting because, I'm a filmmaker at heart. I love making films. I love making shorts. As an animator, I'd make my own short stories. And it's been something I've always wanted to do, but just never had the time to do. But now I have AI, I can free up a lot of my time, free a lot of the stuff that I don't need to do so I can spend time on filmmaking. So a lot of the shows and things I've shown you recently, like I've even put some of my team members into some of the shows and it's hilarious. But I love entertaining. I love creating things. I love creating music. Today I was just at one of my clients and she's an incredible poet. And she's got all these beautiful poems and we turn them into songs. And so what is going to make what's a good creator, and what do people have to do in order to survive in this industry, as in this space? Number one, they have to be innovating. Innovation comes from solving problems, and the problem with innovation is very risky because you don't know if it's going to work or not, because you are literally first to do that. But if you hit it, you're in, right? Second thing that they've got to start doing is they've got to start creating more connection. In a world where we are so connected, we are disconnected from everybody, right? So when AI goes up, what's happening is trust is going down. So the number one thing you got to start working on, and this is what I said, in the old days, social media used to be for lead generation, right? Generate leads, make money, great. Social media is not for lead generation and it's not for converting anymore. It's for positioning. When you want to create a brand, you got to create demand. So why is that? People don't trust AI. Like people look at AI and they go, I don't know, is that real? Is it not real? They see something, I'm not sure if it's real. So what's happened is trust has gone down. So in order for people to survive in this industry, they have to have a personal brand. And thank God I've been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
Because your name now, before we talk about platforms, what is the platform? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, Twitter, right? Your platform now is your name, right? Your platform is now your name. The purpose of social media is to create that trust and get rid of resistance. So they must do that. And the last thing they need to do, hugely important, very expensive, right, is to build community. To build community. For example, JC, you and I met at Jim's event, right? That entire event, he hired that entire resort. That wasn't cheap. That was a lot of money.
That's
right?
right.
At that event, he was just giving incredible value. It was amazing. Like most of these things, they don't even make money. But well, if it doesn't make money, then why do you provide it? Because it creates trust and it builds community.
Yeah.
Long term, right? So like people say to me, John, why you want to run a mastermind in a physical location when I can, like, my last online event, we have like over 12,000 people registered for it, right? So if I do that online versus offline, which is more expensive, right? And the amount of money that it takes me to just do a little event with like 20 people is the same amount of money it would cost me to do a 12,000 online. You
Right.
see? So then why do I do it? Because, and it's funny, I get this comment all the time. Oh my God, John Lee, you're real. You're actually real. I'm like, why do people think I'm an AI? They actually come up to me and say, you're a real person. And people have never said that before. In my 20 years, they have never said that before. It's incredible.
Well, I have, personal friends that have been to your events. And if you've never been to a live John Lee event, there's nothing like it. But the compliments that people, they never come back saying, I learned how to make all this money, even though they did learn that stuff and they learned a lot about AI. They always talk about the experience of meeting John Lee and being in his event. So I hope that we don't create some sort of like amazing hologram of you that replaces you, because there's nothing like it. And also getting great food. So last question, just on a personal note, personal practice wise, and this is referring to you. What is one part of John Lee's own life and creative process that he will never give over to AI?
That's a good question.
I want to know where the stand is. Where's the line?
I will never give away the autonomy. It's my vision of what I'm trying to create. I
Creative.
will never give that to AI, because ultimately that's like saying paint the picture for me and I'll decide what the picture looks like.
Right.
Right. Where what we're trying to do is we're trying to form the picture in our mind of actually what is it that people want. Right. So there's this, one of my most favorite books is the one from Steve Jobs' autobiography. And there's one line in that book that says, how do people know what they want if they've never even seen it before?
Right.
That's the part I will not give to AI, because there are nuances in human connection. There are nuances in how things are done that AI will it ever pick up? I'm not sure, right? Because these things happen in like a millisecond of a second. Like, right? That when you meet someone, within a split second, you know that you're going to be in love with that person and you're going to get well, when I met my wife, there was one moment we were sat in the back of a taxi. I had my head back and I was looking at her and she was looking at me. In that split moment, I knew.
Mm.
In that split moment, I knew. These are the things, that's the vision I'm talking about. That's the downloads. That's your intuition that is created. And what is intuition? Think about this for a moment. Intuition is experiences that have happened in the past that now give you evidence of the things that appear in the future.
Yeah.
And again, it's like that Doctor Strange moment. You can go forward so many years, and yes, maybe things are not exactly where they should be, but it's darn close. It's darn close. And so I would never give that to AI.
I'm just waiting. You keep talking about Doctor Strange, and I'm just waiting. Like when we see each other, maybe in May, I'm just waiting for you to make one of those circles and just be like, "Look what my phone can do now, JC." And I'll just be like, "Yeah." I mean, I was waiting for you to do that. So John, obviously, we're just from the Make Sense ecosystem. Obviously I'm very fascinated with the idea of, money unlocked, but what I'm most fascinated, the reason why I'm encouraging everybody to go get that book is because of the shift, the paradigm shift that it will have, so that they can allow money to come to them as well. But what would you say is the best way for people to begin stalking John Lee?
Just, I mean, my website, johnlee.com. I've got a lot of content there. any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just type in John Lee, you'll see my accounts that come up. If they want to grab the book as well, they can just go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Penguin. The book has been published by Penguin and Hay House, so they can go to any of the sites to grab the book as well.
Yeah.
And actually, what we'll do, JC, for your audience, because I know that the work that you've done with people and your stories inspire so many people. And for me, if people go and grab the book, if they head over to moneyunlocked.com, they can take their invoice number, and if they put their invoice number in, we have incredible gifts that will accelerate I've got a whole training on the AI stuff they can start consuming straight away. I've got a whole training on how do you grow a massive following on social media. They can consume that straight away. And there's a lot of bonuses and gifts. So if they go and get the book, just take note of the invoice number, go to moneyunlocked.com, put that invoice number in, click claim your bonuses, and I think they'll be very, very happy.
That's awesome. So I would encourage everybody to do that, and also at least start following him on his social platforms. Instagram is even just good enough. I mean, it's extremely entertaining, but every time he does something, and it's always him, I mean, you could tell when he's done some sort of an AI generated thing, but John is very, very big on just taking out his phone and showing him that real proof of himself, which is very attractive these days. We talked about that, but what an honor and a privilege it is to not only have you on this show, but I want to have you back once the book is out there and really, really dig into that, but also to have you as a friend, of the dragon community, and I really value you as a human being. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, JC, and thank you for all of you listening as well. Thank you. This is John Lee, and this podcast makes sense.
Makes sense.